a new episode of Nonstop Nikhil. I just arrived in Diradawa, Ethiopia, and it's already been a long day because I actually missed my connection when I arrived in Addis, and so I had to wait for a second flight from Addis to Diradawa. But I'm here now, and this is where the fun actually starts, because I have to find a bus to get to Harar, and I don't exactly know how to do that. I had my flight at around 1 p.m. from Lalibela to Addis. That was fine, but it was about close to an hour late in arriving in Addis, and there was only a 15-minute layover in between that flight and my next domestic transfer between Addis, the capital, and Diradawa, one of the other major cities in the east, more towards the Djibouti-Somalia border. But I thought everything up until now would be really easy, and because I don't really know how I'm supposed to get to Harar, which is about an hour and a half or 2 hours away from Diradawa, but doesn't have its own airport. So I believe there's a bus or a bus station or something like that I need to get to first, and then I can grab a bus that will take me to Harar, and there I can meet my host and get to my hotel, because I've let the host take care of the hotel bookings. So yeah, it's almost 5 p.m. right now, but the adventure for today, January 25th, is going to start right now. I just got into a taxi to head to the bus station, and the strange thing is you kind of have to walk out of the gate and out of the main parking lot for the airport to find the taxis, and that's kind of like you just need to follow the crowd. And so I got a taxi to go to the bus station, and then I think you just need to find one of the typical minibuses that don't leave until they fill up. So who really knows when we'll actually get to Harar. Harar is 2 hours, right?
1 hour and a half.
1 hour and a half. Okay. After the Addis Ababa area, Diradawa is the next biggest urban area in Ethiopia, but even that, you can tell there's a big gap between Addis Ababa and Diradawa. Diradawa, it seems nice. It seems like a very approachable sized town if you just want to walk around. It's kind of cute. Like, look at this. It's an I love Diradawa sign. Yeah, it seems a bit more relaxed, chill here than Addis Ababa. So I just got into one of these like minibuses. It's the same system that we have all over Africa that I've been in. You just get in the minibus, you share it with everybody, you split the cost, and you don't move until the bus is full. The good thing is that the bus was almost full when I got here. The bad thing is that you're all the way in the back seat, but it's no problem. It's about 50 bir to get from Diradawa to Harar. Maybe an hour and a half, but we'll see how that goes. But everyone here seems to be really friendly so far, even though it's a bit more difficult communicating in English here than maybe in other areas that are bigger, like Addis, or more touristed, like Lalibela and Gondar. But still, we're making do. No complaints at the moment. At least I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I got my bag, because you know when you're last minute thrown on another flight, you're always wondering whether your bag will actually accompany you, because I barely made it on that flight that I was rescheduled on. I'm glad my bag made it, but it looks like we're about to get going, and I'll see you when we reach Harar. Yo, I keep talking about how much I hate traveling or even arriving somewhere new at night. And I mean, you plan for it not to happen, but it's kind of like exactly what happened today. And it gets dark so early that sometimes you just can't help it. Even with me missing the one flight and arriving to Diradawa maybe an hour and a half later than expected, the 1.5 to 2 hour drive here in a rickety minivan shared with a bunch of people and making stops, and there are all these big semi-trucks which are coming in from the port in Djibouti, and they use the same road that we're trying to use, just in the opposite direction, to go from the coast in Djibouti to the cities of Addis Ababa and Diradawa and all the other places really in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia is landlocked. So it's only serviced by the ports there on the coast, in Djibouti preferably, and then I guess also in Somaliland. But the important thing is that I made it. I made it to my hotel. This is like ZM Hotel or whatever. And my guide here in Harar, Binyam, met me on the side of the road and took me on in using a shortcut down some pretty shady streets to get to the hotel. But the hotel seems nice, and the most important thing is that seems seems to be a functioning restaurant here, and there are a lot of people eating there. So I'm assuming it's a good place to eat because I am starving. I've had nothing after the free included breakfast in the morning in Lalibela. Oh, but yeah. This is just crazy. Some shady places we drove through, I was just like hugging my bag tightly because I also had my iPad and my laptop in my bag. And one town was literally just known as like a cat trading town. Cat is like this like leaf. I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about it in later episodes, but it's just this like leaf that you like chew for its stimulant effects, and you basically just get a high off of that. So you see that everywhere, people carrying it in big bundles. Literally like the whole floor of our minivan was just littered with a leftover cat leaves. So yeah, I think that's just a part of the culture here that we'll definitely be exploring more of tomorrow. But with that, I'm gonna go get something to eat because I'm starving. I'm right in the middle of the city of Harar. This is the new city of Harar, and we're making our way to the old city of Harar, and that's the actual UNESCO World Heritage Site, is the old walled city of Harar, because of its unique culture. It's like a blend of influences from all over, because this used to be another trade hub between the Horn of Africa and then the Arabian Peninsula and all the way down to Asia. So I know we've seen so many of these cultural trading hubs so far, from Mauritania down to the Indian Ocean, and now we're in the Horn of Africa, so it'll be really interesting to compare and contrast them. Another thing is that we're in Muslim-dominant Ethiopia right now, but they actually don't brand it as dominant. It's more branded as a city of peace, and you see that in like a huge... Yeah, I saw the sign. There's a big sign with lights as you enter the city that just says City of Peace. So let's see how peaceful it is.
Yeah.
Here there's a lot of activity. It's not peace in that way. It's more peace in like coexistence.
Yeah, because people live together peacefully.
Yeah.
Muslim and Christian, they respect each other, they invite each other, so living together peacefully.
Yeah.
That's why awarded by UNESCO Peace Prize 2003.
This is my guide Binyam. He's going to be showing me all the specialties of Harar today. And what's really interesting is that we've left Amhara regions, all the other places we went, Addis, I guess it's maybe outside of Amhara, right?
Yeah.
But it's Gondar and Lalibela are all Amhara.
Amhara region, yeah.
And now we're in Harar region.
Part of Ethiopia,
yeah, and it's not far from the Somali border. So it feels very different, it looks very different. I think it's a bit more laid back here. People are a little more chill than in Addis. Or
It's also very friendly and also very hospitality. So people are going to meet you on the way. So give you greeting and so they are very friendly people.
Perfect. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's this garden that kind of forms the median in between both lanes of the road here. And Binyam is telling me that this was actually designed and constructed by the Italians during the 5 years when they ruled over just Harar, right? They never captured all of Ethiopia.
No, I mean just...
Ethiopia was never colonized.
No, they were colonized. But when they tried to colonize the whole Ethiopia, they have been 5 years. So they make, they build different infrastructures.
There's little remnants of their influence here. Little influence. But you would not be able to tell at all because it's been so absorbed by the rest of the city. We just entered the old city of Harar, and like any good old city, it has a gate, and this one features the last Emir of Harar, who ruled up until 1887. And what was his name?
Amir Abdullahi.
Amir Abdullahi. Yeah, you see influences from the Arabian Peninsula everywhere here. A lot of people are dressed in like Omani style.
Southern Arabian.
With like Omani Yemeni style. You see men wearing the izar wrapped around instead of pants. You have the Omani hats. You've got miswak being sold on the side of the street, like the Islamic toothbrushes.
So
And of
people,
course.
they paint their house every year
Yeah.
for Ramadan.
Okay.
Ramadan is a big fasting for Muslims.
Yeah, yeah.
So some weeks or months before, they paint their house to receive that fasting to be clean.
Ah, that's
So
for
every year,
Ramadan.
Ramadan for big fasting.
So in like a month or two, they'll be painting it again
before
for Ramadan.
fasting. Yeah, they
Yeah.
paint their house just to receive that fasting to be clean.
Oh wow.
So even they change the color, you know.
Oh, okay.
So different years, so they change the color. So that's why more it will become colorful streets
Right, right.
because they use different color.
Wow.
And before the colors, especially when the people paint green,
Yeah.
so the person who live in that green house, they have been Hajj
Oh, okay.
pilgrimage.
Right, right.
So when they come back from Hajj, they paint the green. So everybody they knows.
They know that
The person who
they're
lives-
Hajj living there. Yeah.
They have been Hajj. So now just for decoration, like spices.
Oh, perfect. It smells so good.
So this is just when they eat, they put a little bit, the spices. So there is also spice for cooking. There is spice to eat with. So this is,
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
she's just grinding traditional way.
Alhamdulillah.
So yeah,
I just saw like a bone, like a bone with some meat on it on the side of the road, and apparently that's just left outside for the hyenas. And the hyenas just roam around and they get to eat, and they scavenge for the food that people have left around here, and they don't hurt humans.
they don't know, no.
They're just used
Because
to the humans.
actually they are scavengers.
Yeah.
They're looking for dead animal, leftover food.
Yeah.
So that's why they clean the
Oh,
streets.
Okay, so like the
So
humans
there is-
like it. People like the
Yeah,
hyenas.
they agree relationship with the people. So that's why in the surrounding the wall,
Yeah.
there is a little hole,
Okay.
which is for the hyena hole or the hyena gate.
Okay.
So which is the hyena to let them in.
Yeah, the people
Because-
have gotten used to the hyenas, and the hyenas have gotten used to the people.
Yeah, so they
Work together.
So hyenas looking for their animal, leftover food.
Yeah.
They clean up the streets.
Okay, I guess that's one
But
way
they
to
don't
do
attack
it.
people.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. There are so many mosques
Yeah.
here
So this
in
is a
the old
small-
city, and a lot of them are just very small mosques, and they're even private mosques, and you just have the residents right in the same compound as the mosque, and that's why some people claim to reserve the title of the fourth holiest city in Islam for Harar. I know we've been to so many places that claim to be the fourth holiest place for Islam, but at least that's the local belief here. And there are so many mosques here, I would believe it.
Yeah, 82 mosques.
How many mosques?
82.
82 mosques
82 mosques in the
in
old
this,
city.
just in this little
this one, yeah.
encapsulated old city here. So, yeah, and you see the names of all the mosques. They're written in Amharic and
Yeah.
then also in Arabic.
Arabic, yeah. I mean Harari and
In Harari,
Harari
okay.
and Arabic.
I see. We just passed by a really grand residence which actually belonged to an Indian merchant, but the thing is, up until the 1850s, this was an old city reserved only for Muslims. That meant that non-Muslims could not enter, and it was because Harar, the kingdom of Harar, the civilization here, was looking eastward. It had great relationships with the Arabian Peninsula, with other Muslim worlds. However, it was not facing westwards towards the Christian Amhara regions, or even way past there to India and the like. However, after that we had Indian merchants come in, as well as Europeans and all the like coming here. See, it's a pretty wealthy place. Yeah. The wealth of Harar.
Was
Yeah,
Very important trade center. Used to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
19th century especially.
you would get
That's
everything
why.
coming in from Yemen, from Somalia, from
Well,
Africa,
yeah.
from Ethiopia.
Because
Walking through these old city streets, you see the different cultural influences across history. You've got most recently European style buildings. From the Italian influence, you see Indian style architecture from the time of Indian Ocean trade and commerce with India. And then you've also got the Turkish influence in like the balconies with the parda for the women. And that's from when the Ottoman Turks would be supporting the Muslims when there would be battles against Christians who would be supported by the Portuguese in the 16th century. And then you've also got just the traditional Harari architecture, which is indigenous to, obviously, Harar. This is one of the prime reasons why UNESCO awarded the walled city a prize and really validated it as a city of peace, because you've got these communal compounds where multiple families will live together, sharing one set of infrastructure, sharing one main gate, living together, and however, they're all from different backgrounds. It's not just that you have one family group or one ethnicity living together. You've got people of mixed backgrounds living together in one compound. And that's not something you easily find in most places in the world. So I'm out on the balcony of this building, which was originally built by an Indian merchant, and it's so obvious that it was originally Indian because even at the entrance you see the typical Hindu motifs welcoming you into the residence. But right now it is a museum, and it hosts a collection of texts, mostly in Arabic and some in Amharic as well as typical jewelry and weapons and all this that was used and prized by the Harari civilization. And because Harar was sovereign, it did everything on its own. It was like the capital for its people. So because of that, they minted their own coins, they had their own stamps, they had their own designs, they had their own culture and civilizations, which, as I said, was looking eastward to the Arabian Peninsula instead of westward, just a couple of 100 kilometers from where we came from, Christian Amhara. It's really impressive. When I said City of Peace, I'm starting to see it in more detail right now, how it got that title, how Harar got that title. Even all these Hindu motifs, images of Krishna, Vishnu that you see all around this building have been kept intact, kept beautifully maintained. And in fact, the guides are very enthusiastically pointing them out to me. And you don't see that in a lot of other places which are Muslim dominant and view these motifs as idolatry. And so it's something really to be proud of, that, these cultures that have come here in this region, which is at the crossroads of continents, cultures, religions, peoples, languages, ethnicities, everything. They have a history of absorbing and integrating and then maintaining and celebrating. And that's really, so far, what I've seen here in Harar. If I thought I could understand more words in Amharic, you can definitely pick up all the Islamic statements here when people are speaking. It's amazing just knowing Arabic how much closer you feel to different Islamic cultures, even if they're so foreign to you. I'm inside one of the landmarks of Harar, and this is another residence which originally was constructed by an Indian merchant, has the same aesthetic, but is now the Arthur Rimbaud House, named after a French poet, merchant, weapons dealer, photographer, all of the above, who spent almost 10 years of his life here in Harar. I believe all these black and white photos that are on exhibit here are photos taken by Rimbaud himself, and they provide such an insightful glimpse into what life must have been like in the city during that period. I know this one is dated 1898, so that would have been the late 19th century. Taking a look at this montage of images depicting Harar, it makes you just think that so much has changed in the past, 200 years. But at the same time, so much has not changed, especially when you think of somewhere so relatively isolated as Harar is. Even just getting here yesterday from Dire Dawa was quite an adventure. And if you don't have nice roads, if you don't have automobiles, I can just imagine how tough it might have been to really enter the city, let alone invade it, if that's what your motive was. From the top floor of the Rimbaud house, you've got glimpses through these stained glass windows of daily life surrounding the house, looking into the residential areas of this town. For example, right behind me, you've got children playing basketball And there's school, that's universal. And then you've got a gorgeous view out the other side of the mosques, the churches, the old Indian merchant buildings, the new buildings, the Italian constructed asphalt road, which is the main road in the walled city, and then the whole gate itself, which was built in the 1500s, I believe, as a way to secure Harar and its wealth from outside invaders.
So it's called like Egyptian bank.
Yeah.
So this is the first and the oldest bank, because Egyptian, when they have been for 10 years, from 1875 up to 1885. So at that time they built this bank. So
How to make it?
yeah, but it's like
The first time I've eaten so much injera the past week, but it's the first time I'm seeing it being made. And
only in Harar more they use this kind of size.
Oh, okay.
Because the other place a little bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger. So this is, it's fermented,
Yeah.
It's already fermented. So he just measure like this, and then he just using firewood for cooking. I mean for making jera.
The market. I don't know if you could tell, but I am stunned that there are not more travelers here. This is a place that exactly contains everything that you'd want. You've got the beautiful mountain scenery surrounding you. You've got nice weather. You've got the history. You've got the architecture. You've got the shopping. You've got the warm hospitality and culture. Approaching this little shopping block with a bunch of butchers and the like, and it's funny because everybody has their meat that they've just bought hiding underneath their shirts, because the birds here are super aggressive and they're gonna just grab it straight out of your hand if you don't have it hidden. We just walked by one of the larger mosques here in Harar, and it's the only mosque in which women are actually allowed to pray, because it's the only mosque that's big enough to accommodate both genders and have spaces specially for both genders. And then a short walk away, maybe less than 100 meters away, you've got one of the biggest Catholic churches that's undergoing renovation right now. But then attached to it is this Catholic school. Now that means it's a private school. You have to pay to be educated here. However, it admits students of all religions. And this is actually where Haile Selassie, the final emperor of Ethiopia, whose name and image you're probably going to see mentioned everywhere in Ethiopia. His father was actually working as the governor of Harar, and so this is where he ended up studying. The building behind me is actually the palace of the father of Haile Selassie, who served as governor of Harar, and so Haile Selassie himself grew up here before he became emperor of Ethiopia. And then we also just passed by one of the palaces of the wife of Haile Selassie, which has now been converted into an institute to pass on knowledge of how to perform traditional handicrafts to the new generation.
And that's the only option.
We're making our way from the main square, Faras Magala. It's a horse square, and then we're making our way to the cattle market. So we're here in Harar on a Thursday which I've just learned. Wait, I learned two things. I learned that it was a Thursday, and I also learned that Thursday is market day. So this is the day when people from the countryside bring their livestock, bring their goats, bring their cattle, bring their everything, bring their animals to the market here in Harar to be bought and sold. So all I'm doing is just like following this family with their 3 or 4 goats here. It looks like they're heading to the same place we're going.
Maybe it's nice view up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just go up there and get a nice view.
It's funny, I was just speaking in Arabic with a Yemeni guy, and now speaking in Hindi. आपका नाम क्या है?
मेरा नाम मोहम्मद आरिफ।
मोहम्मद आरिफ, और आप कुवैत में काम कर रहे थे? ड्राइवर। तो आप हिंदुस्तानी लोगों के साथ काम कर रहे थे?
अच्छा, हिंदुस्तान जी आदमी मेरे दोस्त।
Okay, it's just crazy the kind of people you'll meet in like towns like this. There's just like such a movement of people. I mean, even here from Harar to the Gulf, and then you come back with so much knowledge and having met people from all around the world, and then you can recognize me and start speaking to me in Hindi. It's amazing how globalization works, but that's capitalism on the large scale. This is capitalism on a micro scale, where you've got people bringing their cattle from all over Harar region to trade it here twice a week on Thursdays, and then Mondays, I believe, or another day of the week. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to clarify that. And then if you're here, make sure to come visit on one of those days, because you're not only going to see people from the city, but you're going to see people from all around the countryside who are here with their cattle to make a great sale, hopefully. Market here takes place every Thursday and every Monday, so right before the weekend and right after the weekend, because everybody wants their fresh meat for the weekend to enjoy with their families. And so on the other side we had the cattle market with the cows and so on. On this side we've got the smaller animals, the cute little goats and lamb and the like, but you just see how many people are here. I think almost all of Harar is here.
Whoa, whoa!
These animals are actually quite expensive, like up to like 50,000, maybe even 100,000 bir. That's like $1,000 to $2,000. But the thing is, you're paying all of it in cash, and the highest denomination of note that you can get in bir is 200. So there are just people like walking around with like wads of 200 bir notes, paying for this 50,000 or 100,000 bir animal.
Sorghum. It's also for injera. They mix, you know?
They mix it. What you saw right there is like the grain that's used, and it's then ground to and then fermented and then made into the pancake for injera. Just left lunch right now. I'm in a food coma. We're walking through the streets, at least of the newer city. Walked through a huge secondhand clothing market, and now it looks like we're also in secondhand auto parts. More clothes here. I mean, you can think of non-stop Nikhil and how I took such an interesting route to get here, but I really wonder if you could put a tracker on these clothes and these items and see exactly where they originated, where they've been. They're probably all made in China and then went somewhere to the US and then made their way to the port, perhaps in Djibouti or Somaliland or the like, maybe even the Middle East, and then made their way to another city and then probably here to Harar. But we haven't seen the whole spices yet. We've got the whole range here. Things I recognize for sure and things I don't. Given the size of Harar, I mean, this is a market, but it changes very quickly from one type of item to the other. We walked into this alleyway and it's spices and you start sneezing, and then it becomes recyclables, like just all these like plastic jugs, which are originally used for petrochemicals and oils, but then are used to transport water from one place to another. Then we have all the plastic sacks, which the grain would be, where the grain would be transported from. So, and suddenly you've got spices again,
Incense.
Yes.
Ceremony in the church.
Right, the bakhur, that's the bakhur incense that is an integral part of the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, like we've been seeing everywhere. And it keeps going and going. People hustling, like this is what I love to see. Like people don't even like care that I'm here because they're all busy doing whatever they need to do to make a buck. We've even got hops on sale for brewing beer. You've got nuts, you've got all sorts of vegetables. Love seeing all these spices. Again, these spices must have come from all around the world, or at least cultivated or initially all around the world, and then brought here to become a part of people's daily lives, even here in the Horn of Africa. Coming here has made me realize just how little we actually know about Harar. Even like the people who visit Ethiopia, I haven't found many travelers who are telling me that they're also visiting Harar. So it's really strange because two things that we definitely know and associate with this region originated around Harar, and one is a part of our daily life every day, and that's coffee. And the second thing is qat, which is obviously illegal in the US, but it's still something we associate with the Horn of Africa. And you can tell just how ingrained the coffee culture is here in eastern Ethiopia because they use every part of the coffee plant. It's not just like the completely prepared and roasted bean that we use, but you use the leaf to make a tea, you use the shell from the outside of the bean to make a tea, you use the wood as firewood. So literally like no part of the harvested coffee plant goes to waste. Just seeing a lot of daily life here, daily life occurrences. As I mentioned, today is the day for the cattle market. So there are a lot of people from smaller towns, from like rural areas coming into town. And after they've conducted their business, they're also buying some of the things that they wouldn't normally be able to buy in their smaller areas. So here people are buying some cooking oil in little recycled Coke bottles, and then heading on their way back home. We're walking through the blacksmithing quarter. It seems all these tiny shops would belong to people making tools or carving them, crafting them, but obviously they choose not to work during the day when it's really, really hot. Those shops are going to open up at night when it's a little cooler and you can stand working. Literally everybody walking around has a bag of qat leaves in their hand. And so I asked Binyam if that's just like a very accepted thing, like would your parents get mad at you if they found out that you were doing qat? Because it is a drug that's forbidden in most places where it's not a part of the indigenous culture. But from what I gather, it's just like drinking coffee. Yeah, everybody has qat.
Sorry?
Everybody carries qat with them.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just
Afternoon, just relax.
Yeah.
It takes a time, just
What does
You
it?
know, cat which is makes you.
Does it make you
social.
energized, or is
Yeah,
it like
it
coffee?
is like stimulant.
It's a stimulant. Okay.
Stimulant, which is makes you awake, and then it's also like sociable. You know.
Sociable.
People when they chewing cat, they are not chew alone.
Yeah.
You know, with a friend.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. And about
So-
how much does
It's
do
depending on the
people
quality.
spend on cats?
Depending on the quality.
Yeah.
Like 200 birr or
Okay.
100 birr or it depends.
Depends on how strong.
More or less.
Okay.
Because you know less quantity with like 100, 200 or 150,
Okay.
and high quality like 500, 600. Depend on the season and
Yeah.
depend on the quality.
How you do it? You take the leaves and you just
And then
put
I
it in
chew
your
it.
mouth.
Yeah.
Oh,
in
you
your mouth
don't
and
you don't
then
swallow it.
We swallow. We swallow.
We swallow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then swallow it, and then just with water.
Oh, okay.
But people also, some people, you know, they use also peanut and sugar to make sweet
Okay.
when they chew chat.
Oh, I
Because
see.
chat's a little bit bitter.
Bitter, yeah.
So they use also sugar and
I
peanuts.
see. Okay.
And then they swallow with water.
Interesting. The original gates to the walled city of Harar would look like this wooden door behind me. And this is one of 3 of the actual original gates which are still standing. There are 2 others which have been redone, one by the Italians and the other one by the Egyptians in their own respective styles. But originally, in the morning, this wooden door would be opened, and at night it would be closed in order to secure Harar. Hello everyone, I'm picking up from where I left off in the last episode. In the last episode we checked out some of the new city as well as the old city, roamed around, got to see what daily life is like here in Harar. With that said, I spent the afternoon and early evening just relaxing, getting some errands done. But there's something really, really special that we're going to experience tonight. I know earlier in the last episode I mentioned something about hyenas and how there's this interdependent relationship between humans and hyenas. Hyenas are scavengers. They go out at night looking for whatever people or other animals have left behind, and that's what they feast upon. Ever since the 1960s, there's become this ritual when a couple farmers realized that if they just fed these hyenas, the hyenas would avoid attacking other humans or also avoid attacking these farmers' livestock. And so that kind of became a ritual practice over time, and obviously humans feeding hyenas, an animal that have developed a sort of bad reputation from, you know, Lion King, that obviously turned into something that travelers would want to check out. So I am among those travelers here in Harar. There really isn't much of a nightlife here in this city, but what you can check out is really, really unique, and that is feeding of the spotted hyenas here in Harar. Literally walking in some like dark pit right now. There's apparently just bones on the ground everywhere. Okay, there's just one guy over there. Looks like he's like whistling and signaling to summon the hyenas to come over. I don't know if he has his regulars or if they just know to come here because there's going to be food on offer maybe every day or so.
ገና ነው። አንድ በአንድ እየገባች ታወራላችሁ።
Sure. Would you like to pick? Take a look.
Foto Samatar Ilili Fot
Habibi hyena.
She there. Turn your face. Yeah, turn face to the camera. Yeah, that's right.
the right hand hold this thing the right hand Fata hold the baitis
Yeah.
what is it Foto Ilili
Yo, that is something you never do ever again in your life.
Risky.
The surprising thing is that the hyenas seem fairly disciplined. They're not attacking the basket full of meat directly. They're like waiting their turn. But my question is, what happens when all the meat is over? We're like walking back to the vehicle. Get out of here, but you have to like walk through the hyena train. I don't know if you can see, there's just like, you can't even see it, but there's like hyenas like munching on bones and whatever they can scavenge in this little dirt yard right here. As I try to get out of here. That's such a surreal experience. Like, where else in the world do you do this? It's like you've got the whole sensory experience. Hyenas. You have the azan playing as the nighttime prayer call. Oh, that's something you can only do in Harar, I'm sure. Thing is, they're actually pretty cute, so it's hard to resist wanting to get out and just pet them, because in my mind, the only thing I know that looks like that is a dog. And they're kind of cute. It's just like when you think about the fact that they could probably come up to you and kill you, that's probably when you should change your mind. But again, don't try this at home with any feral animal, especially one that feeds on humans. I would probably even say don't try this with these people, but they seem to know what they're doing, and I haven't heard about anyone. There's never been anyone attacked by the hyenas, right? Never?
So in Harar, there is two kinds of feeding practice.
Yeah.
They feed porridge and meat.
Oh, okay, they eat the porridge.
The porridge is once a year.
Yeah.
The meat is every night.
Every night.
You know,
okay.
like today, the hyenas, they are not approached.
Yeah,
They have
yeah.
been attacked, the livestock.
Yeah.
So people, they start this, the porridge feeding to control their hunger.
Okay.
But now, every once a year, they feed porridge, like it's called Ashura Festival.
Oh, for Ashura.
Yeah, Ashura.
Oh, okay.
And this is every night.
Oh, okay.
It's not more than like half century, like 50, 60 years ago. They start.
I've heard of people celebrating Ashura in different ways in different countries, but I didn't know
Here also
this is a
they
very
celebrate,
unique way of celebrating
It is
Ashura.
outside the city on the mountain, so they feed the porridge.
Yeah.
They omen the next year, by feeding the porridge.
Okay.
When the hyenas, if they eat
It's a good
some,
sign.
yeah, that's
If
a sign.
they eat the porridge, it's a good sign.
Yeah, if they eat some, it will be good year. If they eat the whole, it will be bad year. So this is how they omen or forecast the next year.
Okay,
So this is the meat feeding is every night.
Right.